But the fight was good. I enjoyed it. I thought Conor was going to take this fight, but Poirier went in there. He attacked that lead leg of Conor with those calf kicks. You know, at one point his foot was a balloon. Now his calf was a balloon. But,
how long did it take you to write that joke?
that was a pretty good joke. Yeah?
No, was it? Well, how did your calf go to the size of a balloon?
He actually compared it in the press conference to like a footballer. He's like, "Oh no, my calf is like a footballer now," and he was walking out with a cane. Honestly, like from the rounds that I watched, because I mean it was only 2 rounds, but in the first round it was all Conor. Like aside from that takedown, it was all Conor, and it's sad, man. It's sad. I was very sad. We had so many videos planned to post for Conor, and then this guy goes out there and shits the bed.
Conor videos are just not the same anymore. People just don't have as much interest in them as they used to, and I don't blame them because before he was like this up and coming fighter, and he was on this undefeated streak, and he was calling his shots, and he was doing stuff that you wouldn't normally see in the UFC or in any MMA. Now he's this established veteran who comes and goes as he pleases, gets smoke from everybody. He wants to.
This is the highest trending UFC card of all time. So
I don't know about that. Who told you that?
It was.
Who told you that?
Mr. Uncle.
Okay.
Uncle.
Yeah, Uncle says a lot of things.
Uncle Dana White, bro.
Every fight he tells us that this is trending worldwide, blah 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 blah. Like yeah, we understand it's trending worldwide, but
most impressions.
Yeah, again, this is a private company, so they have no obligation to actually release numbers and like pay-per-view stuff. It does.
But he has honor though.
It does get leaked out. But even then, those are not even confirmed because like how you get the only people that can verify is the UFC. Before there was pay-per-view companies that would be the middleman for these cards, but now since UFC has it behind a paywall for the ESPN Plus, ESPN and UFC basically are the only ones that know like truly what the final numbers are.
Did you hear what happened with the thing with the app with ESPN Plus? It crashed halfway.
Oh no
and these
way!
Guys were like, if you're streaming it online, it was better than the actual app.
If you're streaming like illegally.
Yeah, illegal streams.
It's fine.
But let's go back to the actual fight.
But then, how could people watch the fight if wouldn't the streams be streaming ESPN Plus? Or they would use something else maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think you can also like I think you can watch off I think BT Sports, right?
Yeah, international is different, I guess.
Yeah, so they probably streamed off that. But going back to the fight, I gave my analysis. Please talk about your analysis.
What was your analysis? His calf was the size of a football?
First round was all Conor, okay?
Not really.
So I give it 10-9 to Conor. Second round, like even then, like he was landing his strikes. If you look at the strike count, he was landing his strikes. And he had more than Poirier. But Poirier, man, just chopped that leg so much, and then he couldn't walk on it, and then got 1-2, and then dropped.
Okay, so let's go through the fight. Dustin Poirier approached this fight a little bit different than maybe his other fights. He was staying back and he was letting Conor overreach and play into his game plan. He was very heavy on the idea of calf kicking Conor and making him eat those shots, as many as possible before he was able to initiate his next phase of his game plan. So Dustin talked about how his coach Mike Brown really wanted him to go for the calf kicks, and you saw that he made an effort to go for the calf kicks, especially considering both of them are southpaw. If you think about it, so Conor has his right foot forward and Dustin has his right foot forward. If Dustin kicks with his left and goes for the calf, especially with the Conor with his like wide base, you're going to hit that a lot of the times that you throw it. One thing that Conor did note was he was trying to check them, but he felt like he wasn't checking it like far enough, so he wasn't rotating his foot fully, so that he would instead of having his calf absorb the kick, it was his calf and his shin. So yes, he was checking some of them, but he was not able to negate any of the damage that he was receiving, especially that small of an area, your calf area. It's very susceptible to those strikes. If you get hurt there, it's very hard to recover from them. Say if it was a kick to the thigh or like above the knee, that's a much larger muscle, and it's very, very thick, your thigh compared to your calf. So Conor, instead, he did say, he's like, I was rotating my foot, but I could feel that he was still hitting my muscle, and I needed to turn it even further. He hasn't really experienced this very much before in his other fights. It's very much a new wave in the MMA world, where people are calf kicking each other a lot more because they're realizing, like, okay, this is actually pretty effective. It's a very precise kick, though. It's very, very hard to hit, to land it if you don't know how to kick properly, because you have to avoid kicking his shin, and you have to avoid kicking his knee. So it has to be very, very tight, very, very crisp.
But it was weird though, because in the post-fight press conference, Conor said that actually like the front of his shin was hurting. So like his shin was hurting actually.
Yeah. So
on the back of the leg. He
was catching it, like I said. So like I literally just said this. He was catching. No, you said
the back of his leg.
What do you mean back of his leg?
Like because you're saying his calf, but in the press conference you were saying his shin was hurting more.
No, his calf. He said that his calf was dead, like it was gone. I'm saying that he was checking the kick, but he wasn't checking it completely on his shin. If he was completely checking it with his shin, he wouldn't have that damage on his calf, because all of it would be absorbed on his shin, which would have been completely fine for him, right? He would have been able to keep fighting and stick with his game plan if he was able to take it all on his shin. But the issue was his calf. Like he even says, like, okay, my calf was dead. I wasn't able to stand anymore. So I'm telling you that Conor was trying to check them, but he was not used to, or he didn't fully understand or know how to check a calf kick against Poirier. So when he was checking him, he would rotate his foot, which is what you typically do for any checking of a kick. But when you're doing a calf kick, especially from a southpaw position, you have to rotate a lot more so that you take the brunt on your shin. So Conor takes all this damage to his calf, and it just limits his movement. His whole game plan revolves around being able to circle around and be a lot more freer. So if you notice, instead of having all that movement, he became very, very stagnant, and he even forced himself to keep his back to the cage. He did that, if you noticed, he did that because he needed something to hold him up, or something to help him from like collapsing or anything like that, as opposed to being like in the middle of the ring. If he was in the middle of the ring, he's more susceptible to even more leg kicks, and
his stance has also changed too. Like, it used to be more bladed, but
yeah,
now it's more like a boxer style.
Yeah, so he has a much wider base now, and he's not as bouncy as before. Before he would bounce in and out of people's ranges. So if he did that against Dustin, he would have made Dustin missed a lot of his leg kicks, which would have helped him, obviously, but he just kept with that style. He tried to check him, but it just accumulated over time, and he really had no choice but to like stop his movement, or he had limited amount of movement now. And then that's where Dustin excels, where he's very tight.
Story is that you can't be flat-footed.
Okay.
For you.
So, thanks for cutting me off. So Dustin he does best when you're very, very close to him. So when he can throw short hooks, and he can see a lot better for his opponent's movements, and he's just better at fighting at the pocket than most lightweights in the division. Like, Conor has amazing boxing, but he really needs that range. He needs to be able to like dictate the pace. But if for Dustin, once you're in that close where your heads are almost touching each other, like it's over for you. So what was interesting though was Dustin did say that he did get hurt by one of Conor's punches, and I did notice that I forget when it was. I should have watched this fight again, but I don't know which one it was. But he got hit with a left hand, and it kind of wobbled him. It wasn't his legs or anything like that. You could see that something that punch kind of affected him. And he said if Conor kept going, he might have lost that fight. So it really does come down to calf kicks. Dustin was really good with his check right hooks from southpaw. He was doing it. He's done it in his other fights, but it looked like he implemented into his game plan too. But it's not just only about landing. We can look at the stats later on, but it's not about landing. It's also deterring other strikes. So he was covering up very, very well, and then he was making Conor initiate offense, as opposed to what Conor likes to do, which is counter. So he would make Conor initiate the offense and then throw check right hooks to prevent Conor from even coming closer, or getting into his flow. So you kind of like stop Conor in his combos, and then eventually the calf kicks and whatnot. So a rematch between them would be very, very interesting. I think the very first thing that Conor needs to address, of course, is the calf kicks. I'm not too worried about the grappling. Conor did very well. He got taken down, immediately went to the fence, because he knows, like, if I go against the fence, Dustin is not Khabib. Like, Dustin is not gonna use the fence to his advantage, or he doesn't have the skill set to compare to Khabib. Rather, Conor was gonna use that to stand back up, and then when you saw him stand back up, Conor was very strong with the grappling, where he was able to even turn Dustin around and put him against a lot of shoulders too. Yeah, Dustin actually started that. So Dustin threw them, and then Conor threw them back. I think the Conors looked a little bit more brutal, but they both hit each other with them. I don't think in the second fight, I don't think the grappling should be that overplayed. Dustin got the takedown pretty easily. I don't think Conor necessarily expected it, but Conor did do very, very well. He went to the cage, he got up, he turned him around, and then did his strikes in the clinch. So second fight, it's the biggest thing Conor needs to do is, bring those legs a little bit closer. Don't you have such a wide base? You have such a wide base. It's not a boxing match, right? Even for boxers, like, you don't even have that big of a base either. So I would like to see Conor go back to his featherweight style, where he was a lot more bouncy. Maybe that uses more energy. I don't know, but if he uses that bouncy style and he fights Poirier again, I think that style beats him within 2. Especially considering what Dustin said, he hurt him. If Conor was able to constantly go push forward and land more shots, I think he would have got the finish. But he just kept eating them. He didn't rotate his foot enough to take some damage off his calves, and Dustin goes on to win it. Dustin said he is interested for a rematch, so we'll see when that happens. Right now, it's less than 24 hours since the fight, so
not even.
Yeah, so there's so much that could happen, but I would like to see a second fight in like April. That'll be good times for everybody.